Hello and welcome to Sarcastic Videos. Today I'm going to be talking about Nobody Speak, Trials of the Free Press, a Netflix original documentary. To start with, this is told from the point of view of the journalists, so it's very biased and one-sided. They do at some points show both sides, but for the most part it's very in favor of the journalists who are basically standing up for each other. And in some times you agree, but in other ways there's definitely some issues with that. The movie is divided into essentially three pieces. The first two are mostly examples of, in their point of view, billionaires abusing their power to influence journalism, and then there's some spiel at the end about how that's going to affect things going forward with Trump as president, which they do tie in Trump a lot to what they're saying, even though he has nothing, well, I wouldn't say he has nothing to do with what's going on in the other two examples, because they, billionaires do tend to hang out together, and these guys did contribute to Trump's campaign, or at least their advice, if not their financial contributions. But overall, it is one-sided. So the first story is about the Hulk Hogan sex tape, and going after how Hulk Hogan sued Gawker, and as everybody knows, he won and got like the $145 million settlement that put Gawker into bankruptcy and Gawker's owner into bankruptcy, so he had to actually sell Gawker and divide it up and sell it and things like that. But like, their point of view is that this billionaire, Peter Thiel, was looking for revenge, essentially, for Gawker because of stuff that they posted about him in the past. But the thing is, all he did was finance Hulk Hogan. And maybe he provided some advice, things like that. And I'm sure his goal was to bankrupt Gawker, but he didn't influence the jury. He didn't influence the judge. He didn't influence the trial. He just financed the lawyers that Hogan used. And that, to me, I don't see anything wrong with that, because when people sue big firms, they have to spend a lot of money on lawyers, while the firms have like lawyers on retainer. They have a lot of more money to spend on lawyers, so those companies that have the lawyers usually win. So for somebody who, and Hulk Hogan's not poor, but he doesn't make as much as Gawker, so. And especially if he's trying to sue the company, who's, in his mind, has wronged him, for him to have these huge bills, like, I think it's good to have somebody who will hire the lawyer for that person and help them sue somebody who wronged them. And it's not, just because you're paying for the lawyer doesn't mean you're influencing the trial. The jury decided that Hogan was right, that the Gawker wronged him, and they decided that. Thiel didn't decide that. So he helped create the process, he helped create the situation where the decision could be made, but it was made by other people, not him. So that's the point I'm trying to make, is that trying to say that the billionaire influenced the jury or influenced the trial is wrong. And what Gawker does is essentially, tabloid journalism. They are one-sided. They're basically clickbait journalism. That's the word that they actually showed a little excerpt of that, of somebody calling them that in the documentary. But they didn't bring attention to it. It was just something I read quickly as it zipped by on the screen. And it's right. As far as I'm concerned, that's what they are. They're not they're not posting these things because they're newsworthy. They're posting them because they get views and they get money from the ads on those views. They're not posting them because they're news. And to defend Gawker as a First Amendment, I have no sympathy for them at all. And trying to start out the documentary by building sympathy for them shows a very one-sided point of view that kind of soured me for the second story. But in the end, I could definitely see the journalist's point of view in that one, because they're talking about the Las Vegas Review, which was the biggest paper in Nevada, and basically the billionaire Sheldon Adelson came in, and they told a story about how he just kind of swooped in and bought the paper, and because of, and well, in their opinion, again, they're only showing their opinion, but they talk about how they think it's because he didn't like the stories that were being told about him in that journal, and there were a lot of stories about him in there. So it was one-sided, and when the paper got bought out, they wouldn't even tell them who bought it, the reporters. And it was an interesting story where the reporters actually, they were told they're not going to be told who it is, they're not going to be told who bought it, and they would just kind of started out their own investigation on the matter, not worrying about whether or not they got fired or whatever. It was just something they had to do as reporters, and that part I liked. Of course, again, it's just one side of the story, but it seemed like that part would have made a better hour and a half documentary than including the Hogan stuff and trying to make us feel sorry for Gawker, which is really hard to do and something I never will. Then they end with Trump, and they don't cite specific examples of anything he's done other than him calling out the press with the whole you're fake news stuff. And you do see their point of view, because they do talk about how, like, having a president who's constantly telling the American people not to trust the press is going to be bad for the press. Like, that is something that is important. And then they show, like, the president taking the oath of office, and one of the things in there is defending the Constitution. So, like, that includes the freedom of the press. And having a president who's just against the freedom of the press is going to be difficult for anybody in journalism to deal with. So that part was good. It's just that first part where they tried to make Gawker, and I know I'm harping on this, but you try and make Gawker sound sympathetic, and it's not going to work. Like, I don't care, and it depends. Maybe other people will have a different opinion, but I don't see how people are going to care that a billionaire paid for Hogan's trial. They didn't pay for the result of the trial. Peter Thiel didn't pay for the result of the trial. He paid for the lawyers. He paid for whatever else, private investigators, whatever. But he didn't pay the jury. He didn't influence that part. They saw what other people see, and that's that what Gawker did was not news. It was just clickbait trying to make money. And that stuff, that's invasion of privacy and all those other things, and everything else that was stated on, they were given a cease and desist. They ignored it. They chose to put that video up there even after all the legal warnings. So, yeah, don't feel sorry for Gawker. The journalists at the Las Vegas Review, yeah, I definitely feel for them. The journalists that are going to have to be dealing with Trump for the next 4 years, definitely feel for them. But do not feel for Gawker. So, sorry, that was a bit of a rant on Gawker, and I don't like documentaries that are one-sided. I prefer a documentary show both sides and let the viewer decide for themselves. But in this case, it was very one-sided. It was entertaining though, and like I said, the second and third stories and point of views were interesting to watch. So that is Nobody Speak, Trials of the Free Press, and it's a Netflix original documentary. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe, or all of the above. I'm gonna give this a thumbs up. It was entertaining, it was well done, and I'm gonna rate this 6 out of 10 because it is worth a watch. But also, it's very slanted, so it doesn't get a higher rating than that. So again, that's Nobody Speak, Trials of the Free Press. Thank you, and have a nice day.